Okay, everybody, today is Monday, August the 20th, moving right into fall of the year shortly, and at this time we'll call the meeting to order. We welcome everyone to the boardroom tonight. Glad you're here, and as always, we begin our meeting with a prayer and pledge, so we would like to ask everyone to stand, please, at this time. And Commissioner Lynn Green will do the prayer tonight, and Commissioner Tony Brown will listen to the pledge.
Let's pray. Father, we come to you this evening, humble as we know how, thanking you for your blessings upon us and this land that we live in. Father, we pray that we do tonight will be through your guidance and will be for the betterment of our county and its citizens. Forgive us of our sins, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
All present and prior military will do a regulation salute. Everyone else place their hand over the heart. Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioners, we have our minutes. You've had opportunity to look at those and read those. What's the pleasure of the board concerning the approval of the minutes, with the one note that the special session regarding the personnel matter would need to be a motion to seal those. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve the minutes with the sealing of the special call meeting.
I second it.
Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay. Next item is the approval of tonight's agenda. Now, you've had a chance to look at that and review that. First of all, are there any additions? I have two additions to the agenda tonight. Okay, first of all, I want to add to tonight's agenda, and we'll put it on our appointment schedule, first item, because we have a lot of our good citizens with us tonight, and we don't want to hold them up from supper, concerning the tree, pilot tree, on the courthouse yard. So we'll go ahead and add that under our appointment schedule, and we'll handle that item first tonight. And then the second item is two proclamations. August 31st is Overdose Awareness Day, and you know, with the opioid crisis in America, we have been asked by Sheriff's Department and the Friendship Home to put a spotlight on this. So we've got that proclamation, and then also September is the National Recovery Month, so need to add these two on for approval tonight. What's the pleasure of the board with the two additions of the agenda?
Move that we add those to the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and handle the first item on our appointment schedule. We have a resolution supporting I-40 signs, and we have our House member with us tonight. But Josh, we need to go ahead and handle something else that's pretty important tonight too. So we're going to go ahead and discuss the tree on the courthouse yard. The Pilot Club, I'm sure we got several Pilot Club members here tonight. I do know we have their Vice President, Sharon Godfrey, with us tonight. And so, Sharon, we look forward to having you speak here in a minute. So what I want to do, I think it's very important that we get information out to the public on any matter, in any matter. So I want to go ahead and recap. That way, people in the community know and understand where the Board of Commissioners made and why the decision was made roughly a week and 3 days ago. First of all, we had a special call meeting at McDowell Tech. We had a trail dedication, so we had several items of business to conduct. So we advertised by law, we have to give 48 hours notification for any meeting when the board convenes together. So we did that properly, like we were to do by law. And we met, and we've got Terry DePoyster, who is our facilities maintenance director. That's one of his many titles he wears, but he was there that day to present about 8 different items to the board concerning water extensions and ways we can help citizens who have bad wells have access to good, clean water. That was one of the items, and then other buildings. And so one item is the tree and the monument, the Charters of Freedom Monument display that the board has given direction to staff to locate and put on the courthouse yard. And so during the discussion, Mr. Poyster informed our board that several things. Number one, that the city and the city person that will be referenced is Brant, is it Stiles, Terry? Sykes. Okay. I apologize to him for getting his last name wrong. But anyway, he had talked to Terry. He's the equivalent of what Terry does for the county. And he had given information to Terry that the tree, as y'all know, the tree is a beautiful tree, but it's not 4 or 5 feet tall, so it's pretty high. And so the city is, their role and responsibility in coordination and efforts of what they do in this matter, their job is to help the Pilot Club out, and they put the lights on every year and take them off, and they prune the tree. So information was given us, to our board, that the city said it's difficult to trim the tree because of the height of the tree. And also, it's hard to take the lights on and off each year. And so, also another point was made that there might even be some possible disease of the tree. So the city's perspective was that, with that being said, an option might be to remove the tree. It might be an option, and replace it with another tree. So that was given to our board, and we received the comments, and then we asked if the Pilot Club had been contacted, and were instructed that the officers had been, some of them, not everybody, but just, I don't know how many, but contact was made with the Pilot Club concerning the tree. And at that time, the information was said that they would trim the tree and not take it down. And Sharon will have opportunity to speak here in a minute. We look forward to having her, and good to see you. But so that was the information we had. And based upon that information, our board voted to go ahead and remove the tree and then coordinate with the Pilot Club on putting up another tree there or another location. So fast forward to the concerned citizens. Y'all are here tonight, and y'all did a very good job getting word to us how y'all felt about the tree. Very good, very good. And so I'm out of state on vacation, and I started getting a lot of emails. And so I started reading those emails, and just as other commissioners and staff had gotten too. And so I'm sitting here thinking, what is going on here? We didn't know there was a major issue when we voted the way we voted as a board. So, commissioners, we communicated with each other and communicated with staff. And so I reached out to Sharon. I had our clerk to the board give me Sharon's name and number, and I contacted her late this past Friday to inquire what we could do and what was going on. And I'm out of state, and the news calls and says, hey, I need to get a report. Can you meet me at the courthouse yard? I'm like, I'm out of state, but I'll be glad to talk to you. She said, can you text me a statement? I said, I'm driving, so I don't want to text while I'm driving, right? I'm going to obey the law. So anyway, I made a statement. And then moving forward, talked to Sharon, and I told Sharon everything that we knew as a board that I just told everybody here tonight. And Sharon then in turn gave me some information that I had not heard, and nor had our county staff heard this either, nor had Terry DePortia heard this, that the city had contacted the Pilot Club sometime in July and told the Pilot Club they would love to trim the tree, or ask permission to trim the tree, and also stated they would replace the lighting, which was old and needed to be replaced, with new LED lighting. So when Sharon told me that, I just said, you've got to be kidding me. I said, this is a simple deal right here. This is very simple with this information. So I started calling my fellow board members and staff after I get off the phone with Sharon, and just telling them everything that me and Sharon had discussed about that. And Sharon said that they had been contacted from our staff that the tree was coming down. So that was 2 calls from county staff to officers with the Pilot Club. One was going to trim it initially, I think, to Karen, and then I don't know who got the second call, I guess whomever, but they were told the tree would be removed. So I told Sharon at that point, said, Sharon, this problem's solved. In my book, both the monument, which is the Charters of Freedom, which is very important, and the tree which is very important also, can remain. And talking to my fellow commissioners, when they received the new information, it was like you turn the light on, yeah, the problem's easily solved in our eyes. So with that being said, before I bring Sharon up and we get the honor of having her with us tonight, and any Pilot Club members here tonight, thanks for coming. And concerned citizens, we appreciate your input because your input really drove us to talk and ask more questions, and then we learned new facts, which made the decision very easy for us on the action we need to take as a board. So before Sharon comes up, I'll entertain a motion from our board concerning the tree on the lawn.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, we leave the tree.
Okay, you got a motion to leave the tree. Do you have a second? Discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Now, for the record, that was a 5-0 vote. There was a 5-0 vote to remove the tree based on information we had. Now there's a 5-0 vote to keep the tree based on new information. And one thing that a person, anybody, and government, people involved in our capacity, we need to be adaptable, and we need to understand that, hey, you may vote a certain way, but when you get new information, sometimes you've got to step back and re-examine. And hey, new facts, let's set it right, and we want it to be right. And we want that tree, as our board has discussed it one-on-one, we're going to bring in a professional who's going to examine that tree and tell us what needs to be done as far as proper pruning, any kind of items that would need to be done to treat the tree. So we look forward to that tree being lit for many years to come. Okay, and so that's the board has taken action to do that, and we appreciate y'all because y'all really made good contact, and y'all were so kind, not mean or ugly. The emails we got were very nice and kind, and we appreciate that. And I want to give our board members a chance to comment, and then Sharon, you can come on up and we'll let you comment. Okay, so Lynn, you go ahead and start what's coming down our board right here and make any comments you need to.
I guess the only thing that I would have to say is it was never our intention to pull anything over anybody or to harm anybody. We made the decision that we made based on the information that we had. The second thing I want to say is when we said that the Charters of Freedom display and that the tree would remain, I want us to take this seriously. One email that I got really concerned me, and the person said, nobody pays any attention to those documents anyway. Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you something. If it weren't for those documents, you wouldn't have the right to be here.
That's right.
Decisions would be made above your head, and you would never have the right to say anything. But because of those founding documents, our government is set up so that you can come to your elected officials with your grievances or with your concerns or anything of the matter, and that we act on it appropriately. If it weren't for those founding documents, we would not be having this discussion.
That's right.
They wouldn't be a courthouse sitting here. Okay? Thank you.
Commissioner Brown.
Well, I would just like to basically echo what Commissioner Green said. Our intent from the very beginning was not to just go out and chop down the tree and get everybody all stirred up. We were just, we received some wrong information, basically, and thought that the tree was diseased and old and getting out of shape and needed to be replaced. And that was what our decision was based on. And we quickly saw the light, saw the mistake had been made, and we made an adjustment, and we hope that we have pleased everyone. We certainly are not, again, the citizens of the county. You guys put us in office, and we want to do everything we can to help you and to please you. Thank you.
Okay.
I echo what the fellow two commissioners have already said, Mr. Green, Mr. Brown. There was no intention, when you're given information, and I fully trust Mr. DePoystra 100% on the information he gave us. Sometimes the information comes out, whether it be print or whatever else, is not always correct. Okay, we know that. That happens. And the thing is that, I started doing a little history and found out, that's not the original tree. That tree was cut down, I think, 1990s because of disease, and was replaced by our former county manager, Mr. Chuck Abernathy, and I think Mr. J.R. Mabe, who is Cooperative Extension. So that wasn't the original tree. I got an email so that thing as old as I am, and it's not really, And I drove some people by. I said, I want you to look. And I love to see those lights on that tree. I do. Because, it's lit at Christmas. It's all because of Christ. It's not because of a tree. It's not because of anything else. Those lights remind me a lot. It's Christmas, and that's when that tree is lit. And it is beautiful. I drove by it and I saw limbs inside. I said, how are they going to trim this thing? Number one, because it's not in good shape, shape-wise. The shape of it's just, it's all out of sorts. And they just shook their head and went on. They said, it's really not that pretty. If it was shaped, it would be pretty. And I said, well, the meaning of that, and that's what you got to think about, is the meaning. But I do appreciate your concerns, and it did concern me, Mr. Green, that people do not, respect our Constitution and our Bill. I teach in school, and folks, if you want to see disrespect, I'm telling you. But where does it start? Just like our preacher says, it's not the kid's fault; it's the parents' fault. It's kind of like I said, you voted for. Some of you voted for me, some of you probably didn't, probably never will, and that's okay. You can still talk to me, right, Mr. Dobson? That's what we're here for. We appreciate your attention. We appreciate you coming to us. I just always, I believe in the chain of command, and carries the chain of command to the county manager, to us, and to us back to the president or vice president of the Pilot Club. And that's the way things have to work. But we appreciate you.
Thank you, and thank you, commissioners. Our president, Karen Conley, has a statement that she would like to make, but unfortunately she works in Morganton and doesn't get here at this time. But we thank you for your prompt answer to our need. The tree is a huge, it is our largest fundraiser. And not only that, all the proceeds go back into the community, but it has such a dear to all of our hearts, not just, we have found out it's just not us pilots, but it is the community and that what the tree stands for. And it does start our Christmas season off with the beautiful lights and in memory of loved ones. And as you said, the tree was replanted. It did plant, and then we had to do another one, but that was before my time. But I think about Mrs. Ivy McBee and all of our ones that started our charter and what they put into the tree and everything. Miscommunication, which y'all have addressed, and we understand that, mistakes get made. We are just thankful that the tree will remain. I'm in total agreement that it needs reshaping. The bottom limbs and everything. When it's lit up, it is a beautiful tree. When you just ride by it and the lights are not on, you can see it does need some work. And I hope that the tree can be shaped up. We understand that if it is diseased and it has to come down, and we hope that you will find us a place. If a tree can't go back there, that you'll find us a place, because as I said, we normally arrive around $1,000 to $1,200 a year in our donations for loved ones, and every bit of that, not any goes into operating expense for Pilot Club or any conventions or anything. It goes back totally into the community. And so I don't know what Karen has to say, but I just want to thank you as the president-elect and as a past district governor of Pilot International for your voting to keep our tree.
Thank you, Sharon. And Commissioner Vaughn, we need her to comment too right quick while you're there, Sharon.
Okay.
Well, they've said pretty much everything that I do say, except that I appreciate the voice. I appreciate the Facebook bombardment. I appreciate the people that took the energy and the time to start with the petitions. I appreciate all of the input. we as a board are not the do-all. It's for everybody in the entire McDowell County. It's not that we intended to do anything just as a board and it be done, snap, we're through, we're not discussing it. We heard a voice, we acted on the voice, and whoever put on Facebook that said that tree was older than anybody on the board, I'd like to thank them. I do appreciate your voice. I appreciate everybody that took the time out of the day to come here. I appreciate everybody that took the time to send an email, to send a text message, to call my phone, anything. I appreciate you. We are always available to anybody. We try our best to. And for myself, I'm sitting here because of you, and that's it. Because other than that, I'd be somewhere else. And it's an honor to be here to represent you. And to try to represent you as you want to be represented is my desire. Let me know what you want.
And Sharon, moving forward, we'll say to the public present that's here for this issue, and also Pilot Club members, rest assured that our board moving forward, the Pilot Club will be front and center, and thoroughly, anything regarding the tree will be thoroughly discussed, and we'll have total buy-in between the city, the county, and the Pilot Club.
Right.
Moving forward, no action will be taken regarding the tree until there's been a lot of good conversation. And we've got experts coming in, Forest Service personnel will be on site tomorrow to look at the tree. There's been an arborist already looked at it. Another local tree trimmer gentleman has looked at it today. So there's been 2 eyeballs on it today already, and another set's coming in tomorrow to look at it. So moving forward, partnership, cooperation. We're with the Pilot Club. We respect the Pilot Club, and we appreciate all you do. I know my youth choir has sung
Yes.
up there at the lighting, and you know, if you've never been up there when they do that, they read the names out, and it's a very good ceremony. So if you're not a member of the Pilot Club and you're here just for this issue because you like the tree and you like lit up at Christmas and all that, you may want to go when they have the lighting of it, and they read the names. Very good thing. As a side note, we'll move on because I know everybody's busy and ready to eat. I talking about the age of the tree. I got a call from someone that said my wife's grandfather and uncle had planted the tree. Well, as we did a little research, that was the other tree that got cut down. It wasn't the current tree on site. So, but we do appreciate the responsiveness of the citizens who contacted us, and we hope that we got back to you in a timely manner, and we listened to you. Okay, we hope that y'all saw the board was proactive in hearing what your concerns were, and we acted upon those concerns.
You can sleep tonight, then.
You can sleep good. I made 2 calls over the weekend to the county manager. I said, now you make sure that nobody comes in here, because if you're going to cut a tree down in a downtown setting, typically you don't do it on a Saturday or Sunday when there's no businesses real. It's not as crowded. And I called it twice, and you make that. Now you have, and I had emails to back this up. If that tree went down, that I done called him twice over the weekend. that thing was not going anywhere. Isn't that right, Ashley? That's right. Okay, Lynn, one more thing.
Let me say,
I have the petitions. I just want everybody who took time out.
Yes, that'd be great. Just
1,317 signatures.
okay, yeah. Just give that to our clerk there. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
let me say one thing about the Pilot Club before we close this part of it out. Several years ago, the Sheriff's Office here in McDowell County started a program called Project Lifesaver. And this was a program for kids with autism or elderly people that might have Alzheimer's and maybe walk away. They wear a GPS tracker on their arm so that we can go find them. The national average of finding a person that has walked away from home and may be lost is 30 minutes with this program, okay? So I want to say thank you. I was there on the ground floor of that, and I know that the initial money came from the Pilot Club to get that program started. And it's still going, and we've got several kids and elderly people in the county that are on that program. And we appreciate you folks for doing that for us.
Thank you. We're a small club with a big heart.
Let's give the Pilot Club a hand, everybody. Okay, with that being said, the tree's remaining. It's going to be lit up. It's going to be nice and pretty and trimmed up, and it's going to look good. And so y'all be good. So Santa, bring y'all some presents this year now, okay? That's right. And to give donations to the Pilot Club. If anybody needs to make a donation, there's your person to see. Sharon, expect hundreds and hundreds of dollars to flood in. Somebody said if you got $1 for every call, that's $1,300 and something right there. You get right out the gate. So anyway, so it's good to have everybody here tonight. Now, at this time, we've got to move on into our rest of our meeting. So we'll go with our first appointment. This is item A, and this is a resolution supporting I-40 signage. And we've got Representative Dobson with us tonight. Josh, good to have you, sir. Come on up and tell us what you've got. We've got information, read it, but you go ahead and tell us what you need us to do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Let's take a brief recess right quick in case anybody's got to move around. Okay, I think we're settled now. Josh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, for the opportunity. I know you'll have a heavy agenda, so I'll be brief. Basically, this resolution that I'm asking for is on Old Fort Mountain. There's, as you all know, and those in the room know, wrecks, mudslides, fog, all those types of things on Old Fort Mountain. I'm working on getting something called dynamic messaging signs at the top and bottom of the mountain to notify motorists of impending weather and/or danger. The total cost of the project is $400,000 to get signs at the top and the bottom. In DOT's formula, my understanding is that the way their formula works, based on traffic, based on accidents, those types of things, they're able to secure $200,000 worth of the funding. I'm working on securing the other $200,000 for this project. What I'm asking for you all is simply an endorsement of this project to make sure that we have those signs at the top and bottom of the mountain. Heavy traffic, a lot of tourists, a lot of our people go there as well. So basically, that's what I'm here for, to ask for your endorsement of that resolution.
Okay. Mr. Wood, anything you need to add to that?
No, sir. You do have a resolution in your packet, short and to the point, expressing the endorsement of that initiative.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, we approve the resolution.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay, Josh, thanks so much for working on that, and it's just going to help our people as they commute back and forth, and a lot of wrecks happen on that mountain. So we appreciate what you're doing there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Good to have you. Okay, let's move to our next item on our appointment schedule, and we're slightly behind, but that's okay. Had something very important to take care of. 515, tax collection settlement and order of collection. Linda Onufrey, is she in the room yet?
She was outside.
She might have
Okay, so they're going to
back
get
down the hall. Ron's going to get her. Like to do another item.
Okay, let's move to item A under new business administrative items. Go ahead there.
Sure. We're into the new year, so we're starting to see things pick up quite a bit. On this typical item, just a few housekeeping items for you. I'll kind of just read off each one individually and ask for a vote separately, if that's okay. The first item you do have is a leak adjustment request from Nebo Water System, last name Presnell, for $110.80. And you see the email from staff, from the residents, explaining what that was about. A couple of receipts are attached, and staff is recommending the approval.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Move we approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay, Linda's not here yet, so let's go to item
We
B.
have a few more, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Under admin. You do have, I'll be brief,
Okay.
very brief. I'll wrap these up. You could probably lump these together. You do have 3 non-collectible solid waste accounts, and you also have the EMS non-collectible accounts that are over the 10-year write-off period. If you could do those the same, it would be okay.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion approved, write-offs.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign.
Okay, a few more are almost done, I promise. You have a resolution requesting the purchase of a sidearm by a retiring deputy, and you have that resolution in your packet, and the gun model, et cetera.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, we approve the resolution.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign.
And that was for Sergeant Randy Slagle.
Right, okay.
Police number.
And that's standard, any deputy that retires for $1 can purchase their sidearm and badge, and that's consistent throughout, okay?
A few more. We have a resolution for closeout Harmony Grove Road Water Project. We have a Community Food Hub grant closeout. The trail expansion donation closeout. Universal Water Line closeout, and that's all for those. We also have a new project budget ordinance for the Baxter Building Reuse Grant, and we have a budget amendment GF1 that appropriates anticipated sales tax reimbursements. So that's a lot, but all financial related.
Okay, and we've had time to look at these, so what's the pleasure of the board?
Move we approve as presented.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay, have we covered everything under that item, Mr. Wooten?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay, good deal. Let's move to our appointment schedule, and we have Linda Onufrey, our tax collector, does a wonderful job. Linda, you're here to talk about the settlement and the order of collection, correct?
That is correct.
Good, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I am here to submit my settlement for the fiscal year 17-18, and also a single-bound copy of the unpaid real property and personal property taxes for you to review. We had a good year. We did finish out at 99.22, which we finished last year at about 12 out of the county, out of 100 counties.
So in other words, your collection rate is very good. In other words, the people in McDowell County pay their taxes very good, right?
Yeah. Well, a little bit of forcible stuff there, unfortunately.
That's the politically correct answer, right?
Yes. So I did, in your packet, you will see what the taxes that we collected. Of course, it is just real property and personal property. We collect no motor vehicles as far as taxes in that way. It's all through DMV now, which I'm over that too, so I get to still see that. So with our outstanding balance for the ending of the year was $145,282, which was pretty good out of the total that we were to collect.
What was the total levy?
The total levy was $19,683,462.75. So that's pretty good, a little small amount there. Any questions on your packet as we can, what we've collected? Delinquents, we did only collect 151,000. I haven't had a lot of time to work on a lot of foreclosures and things like that, which a lot of the delinquents come from that, unfortunately. That was down just a little bit from last year as far as collections. And it's really about it as far as.
Okay, comments or questions for our tax collector by board members?
Have any?
Okay, Mr. Wooten, anything you need to add, sir?
You just need to approve the settlement. You can do the order of collection next.
Yeah, I'd like to go again next year, and so if you'll approve by order of collection to do that.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve the order of collection presented.
Okay,
Second.
all right, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay, thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay, this time we move to our next item on our appointment schedule, and we're about back on track. And I see Karen's came in, so Karen, we'll fit you in here in a minute, okay? But let's go to our 5:30 appointment. This is the Municipal Event Center discussion. We have the Honorable Steve Bush with us here tonight, who is the Chamber Director. And so, Steve, go ahead and you lead off, and then we'll get staff to chime in, and we'll hear you gladly.
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, for the opportunity to be here. Secondly, as a veteran of this great country of ours, I commend you, Commissioners, for listening to the people. As a defender of this democracy, I commend you guys for having heard the people, found a resolution, and remedied it. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
About the Municipal Event Center, you know that has been a vision of ours. The Chamber, backstory real quick, we have been working on saving monies over a period of time to find an event center of some sort to put in this community. With the blessing of the former Rock 10, the paperboard factory, as most people know, in the heart of this community, we saw an opportunity. A local proprietor who is in the room, property owner, secured that building, and we went into discussions with the city, the chamber, the county, as well as tourism development to secure a lease on that property of what used to be the former Winn-Dixie portion of it, which is the dome section. It's approximately just shy of 15,000 square feet. And we entered into an agreement for a 10-year lease and a partnership. During those discussions with the county and others, you guys, correct me when I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman, is not to enter into a lease agreement. That was not the pleasure of your board. But the chamber and the city have come to an agreement that we will be the ones that will enter into that agreement as far as the lease is concerned. And we are currently standing up an LLC that will be the holdings of that event center with advisors from both the chamber and the city that will sit on that board and oversee the funds that will be returned into upgrading and enhancing that facility. I'm here basically for an approval to make sure that, if with the pleasure of the chairman, I'd like to approach with some draft, and I do say draft, agreements between the county and the chamber that gives us basically your permission to support this adventure with monetary agreement that we discussed prior. And in hopes of agreements, Mr. Wooten has a copy of that. Him and I are still drafting through it to make sure, but just gives you a rough copy of an idea of what we're looking to do over the next 10 years. And hopeful for your support as a board to support this venture so that we can continue to move forward. Just a quick update, the facility has since been painted. HVAC and heating and HVAC are all installed and operating very well inside the facility. We had a job fair in there. It was nice and air conditioned. We had we broke last year's record of attendance for job fair, and the permit for the restrooms, for ADA accessible restrooms, has been pulled from the city, and GEM Construction Company, the property owners, are currently working on moving forward with that construction piece. There are right now about 13 events booked for that facility as we speak, and we think it will only grow with also another partner on the table for discussion, and I'm not afraid to go public with this, is Foothills Community Theater, bringing that to be their permanent home instead of MACA, with the opportunity of a bigger space, more staging area, and the opportunity to do bigger shows in there for us. My dream is to have the Legends Show, our annual event in McDowell County, that becomes known in the southeast region. So that's the kind of vision that we have, and as the Bible says, without vision, people will perish. And I think we have to have that vision, and we need to collaboratively and collectively move forward as a community for such a great opportunity. That's all I have.
Steve, can you give the board and anybody present just list off some of the events that have been held in there to date?
So we had the first event in there was the actual Comic-Con. First ever. It's been normally held down at the community building. Anybody that was in town last year and the years before know that there was a line of people. I think the capacity there was it was overwhelming. So we put about 1,400 people through the doors of that event that day, Comic-Con. We've had a boat and RV show that had about 1,200 people in there, thanks to the Miller and Blackbeard Outdoor. They partnered with 2 other regional boat and RV businesses, so it wasn't just a local, it was a partnership regionally, and they did 3 shows across the region, down in Taylorsville, here, and then up in the Asheville area. And so having those guys, they look to make that an annual event as well. We have had, the job fair was in there for the first time, so parking was not an issue. We've always had a parking issue out at Universal and other locations that we've had it. We have a Monster Mayhem that's coming. It's like a Comic-Con, except for monsters, Freddy Krueger and that kind of stuff. A well-known actor by the name of John Anderson, who's been in numerous modern-day movies, will be on site for signing and stuff. We'll probably do another 1,500 people in there easily for the Monster Mayhem. We have, the Rotary is holding their annual auction in there this year because of the size and the capacity. And then we have some rentals.
Stage, too.
Stage, where we'll be putting in, and all this comes in time as we grow that facility and people, the revenue, once again, that's the purpose of standing up an LLC individually for that event center so that the funds continually flow back into it for the purchase of stage, chairing, and enhancing everything. I forgot to mention the lighting is already up. New LED lighting is in the facility as well. And we have 2 or 3 weddings that are in there, and we are in negotiations with McDowell County High School to bring the prom back in the spring for the first time in many, many, many years.
Yeah. Saves them driving across the mountain or down.
That's exactly
down
what we want.
East of us, which is a very good thing.
So the benefit there is
concerned parents would appreciate them not having to travel across the mountain.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Friday nights is all that they can do up there, which limits the kids, and they have to be out of school. The opportunity with having it here at home in that facility is the Saturday night event. So the kids, them a chance to work with the local businesses, to work deals with them on the tuxedos and the flowers and all that, and incorporating our local businesses into it is something that the Chamber visions, and we think we can make something like that very beneficial for
Steve, the Chamber for years has desired a location to be able to hold events at and just not been able to do it. Now with the opportunity available in that spot. And something very important for people to understand is any money that the Board of Commissioners agree to over a period of time goes to that section of the building and to the Chamber.
For lease purposes.
Exactly, to continually improve that spot and that area. Because the owners of the building shouldn't be required to make any change you so desire as a chamber, because you're a tenant at a very good lease, I understand too, right?
Yes, sir.
Which is very minimal.
Very, very fair market value, actually below market value.
Exactly.
Great partnership. They didn't have to do that for us, but that is part of their civic mindedness that they're willing to do for us. They're actually giving us an individual from their company that will be the overseer of the calendar to help us schedule the calendars. City's full staffed. You know, we're all busy in our organization, so that was another commitment that their company did not have to do. But the fact that we have a local proprietor that was willing to invest in that building and have a vision for it, and I think is incredible that we have those type of people in this community. And I think the collaboration that we have is only changing the dynamics of this community. And as a chamber, we're very proud of that. And we look forward to what that asset for not just the Chamber of City, but for the entire community will bring to the downtown area, but not only that, but McDowell County as a whole, sir.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. Ashley, anything you need to add to this discussion?
No, Steve and I have worked on this agreement, and it's based on feedback from our last discussion. The county attorney has looked at it, and the only suggestion, only addition he would suggest, if it is approved, is that the chamber add us as an additional insured, just since there is somewhat of an involvement, hold us.
And that was the reason for the LLC as well. That way the LLC is the insurance body, and it doesn't, if something were to happen, it cannot be falling back onto the chamber or the city. If an accident and an insurance claim goes, that would hit us. So that's why we decided to stand up its own individual LLC. So it will be an insurance policyholder that would, with the request of this board, Mr. Chairman, all 3 entities that are involved to protect all of us for the insurance as well. And that's something that Ashley and I can have discussions over. The other thing that I noticed that, again, it's a draft, is the date, the start date of the lease. And my understanding is agreement between us and the Miller Realty and Development Company is 1 September. We will take full lease ownership of that facility.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll say this. We appreciate a local family investing back locally to provide opportunities locally for people to stay here. Why should our tax dollars go out of county all the time? Let's keep them here in our county. And why should our people not have opportunities that other areas have for shows and what have you. It sounds like that building, that the chamber, the space the building, the space in the building that the chamber has leased is going to be highly used. It's like the arbor at the Carson House. Yeah, every weekend something's going on out there. So
I forgot one major one. I wanted to make sure everybody in the crowd hears this as well because we're super excited. Is a Christmas bazaar that will be happening Saturday. We call it Shop Small Saturday with American Express Partnership. It will be all local crafters and vendors. Again, all local crafters and vendors inside that facility. That would be a Christmas bazaar. It'll happen the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We have partnered with a local lady who normally does that again at the community building. And not to take any away from that, but the capacity there was not enough. So having this and bringing in twice as many vendors is going to be a huge, huge deal for folks to come in and Christmas shop and, again, see our local crafters that we are there's so much talent here. We have a lot of them up at the visitor center that showcase their products, but I think that's another great opportunity for our local crafters that don't have a storefront to come out and show the community what they make and have an opportunity to sell it.
Okay, comments or questions by board members for Steve?
I would like to make one comment. I did have the opportunity to go out to the facility when they had the RV, and Larry and Todd were gracious enough to give me a good tour of the building and spend a couple hours with me with their vision and views on what their plans were. And I'd just like to say hats off to those guys for what they're doing and also for working with the city.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I think that's a point that we did not make clear is that building, that's just 15,000 square feet of a 110,000 square foot facility that has negotiations in the process for a skating rink and other retail shops and businesses inside of that facility. And I think that's a great opportunity. There's already a jiu-jitsu studio in there. Talent Force is located in there. Their Realty Home office is in there as well. And there's a dance studio that's in talks. So a lot of movement fixing to happen. And I think in the next 5 years, it'll be something that this community will be very, very proud to have as, an asset to the community.
And you got to remember this too, that how many towns do you go in and you see the growth was once in a certain area and then it's moved out in the strip mall type settings and you see deserted buildings, rundown buildings. This building is right here in the heart of downtown. And it could be over there empty with nothing going on and just deteriorating.
Storage space.
But that's not going to happen. And so I'm very excited about the chamber and the partnership and what all the chamber, the vision you have to bring things in here and make things happen here. We're about McDowell County. I mean, I hope other counties prosper and do well, but we're here to represent and make sure McDowell County flourishes and grows and thrives, and that's what this board's about. It's about McDowell County. We hope Catawba does good, we hope Rutherford does good, and Burke does good, but we're sitting up here going to advocate for McDowell County.
Yes, sir.
And so, thanks. Anything else?
I'd like to applaud you and Larry and his folks for the vision. I think it's about time that the folks in McDowell County had a big place that they can have room to put on plays and have these different types of shows and stuff. I remember in high school, part of the fun of the prom was getting to go help decorate and all of that
Yes,
stuff.
sir.
So, when you go to these different places out of the county, they do all that for you, and it's just takes away from it. So I'm glad that there's an opportunity that we can have that here in the county.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Green.
I think, Steve, thank you, and thank you, Larry, thank you, Todd, for being here. I mentioned to them about, I hope they would come tonight to hear the positive aspect of what this board, because we sat here and showed the support to begin with. And then, things can be taken and put in print wrong, and things can get out. And I sat down and talked with them and, gave them my full statement of what I said that day, and they understood. And, good, clean family events is what we need here. And Larry and Todd, I appreciate your friendship, and sitting down and listening and talking. And I appreciate that they have stepped up. As once said before, we looked at that building for our operations here. And some people may not like that, but it would have saved a tremendous amount of money, taxpayer money, by not having to But look what's happened. So we support you wholeheartedly, Larry, Todd, and Steve. You know, we met, and man, it's just amazing what can happen.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate you. See, even when you guys were in negotiation, I was whispering in Ashley's ear, save me that space because I want it for an event center. So regardless, I was hunting a partnership somewhere, somehow to make that space come to life. And I think we've done that. I think we've got the right partners in play, including the county, city, TDA, chamber, and of course the Miller family. I think it's another view of collaborative effort in this community that is making things change and making things happen in the right direction.
Right.
Well, and we're known, now listen, statewide, you had a school board that nominated this board for a state award because of the fact we meet with them every month between, I'll just take a side note here. There's a thing called the Education Committee here, and Robert's a former community college guy, he understands. Every month, the president of the college, their chairman and a board member, every month the chairman or the chairman of the school board, their vice chairman, and the superintendent of the schools, our man Ashley Wooten, myself, and Tony Brown meet, and decisions aren't made in that committee, but what happens is we're working mid, long, and short term on how we can make things better and how we can partner, as you said and others have said, and how we can help each other. And as it's productive. I mean, things are happening. I mean, and the board won an award for that because of just for the sheer fact we're open to listen and talk and partner. The same thing happens with the city. Years ago, before I became a commissioner, 16 years ago, you couldn't get the city and county to sit down in the same room just because of personalities and issues. We meet every month, the city and the county, on ways that we can help each other and make McDowell County and Marion a better place. Sure, we don't always agree on everything, which you don't do that. Not everybody agrees on everything in life anyway. But the thing is, you come to a good, positive end result and resolution and discussion. So I'll just highlight again, the partnership is how you get things done. Cooperation and collaboration. Any other comments or questions before we take action?
The only thing I'd like to say is I'm glad that there's something for kids. When I was growing up, we had a skating ring. The more we can involve our kids in things that are in a controlled, per se, environment, the less we're going to go visit them in the jail confinement. They need something to do. They have a lot of energy, and that energy is going to go somewhere. It's either going to go to the right direction or the wrong direction. So the more we can offer our youth, the better off we are.
Yes, ma'am. So let it be known there's 110,000 or 90,000 square feet still available for entrepreneurs and businesses that are in that like mindset that facility is awaiting their business, and I trust you, or I will encourage you that family will work with them diligently to make it work. So,
okay,
done with us.
I think that's all the discussion we need. You've got the agreement, and Steve has passed out again the thing we have here.
Please note, Mr. Chairman, that is a draft.
Oh, yes, it is a draft. Okay, Mr. Wooten, we're ready to take action, correct?
We are, unless there was something substantial.
Just pending a few key verbiage in there about the lease start and things like that, Mr. Wood.
Let's clarify that up front. So, and whoever makes a motion, they need to make the motion to say the lease starts effective, or the agreement September the 1st of 2018. Anything else, Steve?
Just there's a few key words. Mr. Miller looked at it real quickly, and there's minor stuff, Mr. Wooten, that I'd like to just share with you maybe tomorrow that we could edit.
Okay.
Okay. So you bring the final thing back to us.
Okay.
I make a motion that we accept the final draft.
Yes, sir.
Whenever it's brought back to us.
Yes, sir.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay. All right. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate the hard work you do. One thing about McDowell County, we've got an energetic director for the chamber. He's very, very energetic. Okay, let's move to the next item on our appointment schedule, and this is item D. And we have Carol Price. Carol, good to have you tonight. Welcome to the boardroom, and we hear you gladly. You're here to talk about signage. So the floor is yours, ma'am.
I am. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
There's a lot of positivity and partnerships going on here tonight, so I'm going to add to that. Occupancy tax continues to increase, so our board was looking for another opportunity for the county. And so we talked about wayfinding signs. It's a project that we looked into a couple of years ago. At that time, we still had the McDowell house on our plate. So it's a good opportunity now to move forward. And we have done some research, found a great engineering company to work with, Teague Engineering. Mark Teague is that entity, and Mark used to be an NCDOT engineer. So what we want to do tonight is to tell you a little bit more about that plan. Basically, wayfinding is just directional signs. You know, the city implemented them here a few years ago, and we talked to the city about how to partner with them. We want to play off of their color scheme, for example. We also have other partners in the community. I have a couple of those here. Actually, my board chair is here. Helen Sullivan is over here, if you'd let everybody know.
Helen,
who you
wave
are.
real big so we can see you. Good to have you.
Helen's like me, we're vertically challenged a little bit. We also have Nick Larson here. Nick's, with our U.S. Forest Service, because one part of this project is to get community involvement. And I've talked with Ashley about hopefully having a representative from the county to be part of that advisory council. So we would have somebody from the county, from the city, from the town of Old Fort, the U.S. Forest Service, somebody from the Little Switzerland community, so that as we move forward with the project, because this is going to be probably a 3-year project, to where we're just starting this year, and we're hoping by about this time next year to have 50 wayfinding signs on the ground and have those installed. I also have Anna Sexton here with JMT tonight. She's our project leader, and we have Kenny Armstrong here as well, and they're going to discuss the project and better define it for you. Because what we would like to ask you to consider is, once those signs are on the ground and they're installed, the TDA would still take on the cost of any future repairs or maintenance issues, but as those signs are installed, we'd like for the county to actually own those signs. So it would be another agreement, kind of like the same one that we did with McDowell House, where we put something in writing, and we'll work with Ashley to do that. But we will continue to fund to take care of those signs, but we would like for you to take ownership of those signs. So, any questions or?
No, signage is very important. The city downtown with the signs, people come through, and I know people have friends out of town that come to Marion and visit, and they brag about how the downtown looks, and the accessibility and the signage is a big thing. So
It is. And the signs are going to kind of build on our presence, too, on the interstate. We now have 5 billboards on the interstate. One of the newer ones is one for the Blue Ridge Parkway, because we weren't able to get DOT signage for exits off of I-40. Since we actually have 3 ways to access the parkway, we put a billboard up. So that billboard has the 3 exits. It's a gorgeous billboard. It's down close to Hickory. So you'll see that. You'll see a Marion, actually we have a new Marion billboard, a Little Switzerland billboard, one for the Pisgah National Forest, which is probably the most popular question we have at our visitor center. And the other thing, people come by every single day, and they have their smartphone, and they say, can you program this so I can get to, wherever it is? So they need directional help, and this is another way to help them get there. So Anna and Kenny, they'll come up and better explain the project to you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for having us. We are really excited to work on this project with the county and the Tourism Development Authority. And as Carol mentioned, we entered into contract in mid-July, so about a month ago, to start the project. And our portion of working with the TDA will run through about September of next year. The project itself is going to be, or as far as we're concerned, 2 phases. Phase 1 is going to cover the sort of design and programming for the whole wayfinding master plan. And then Phase 2 will cover the installation of the 50 signs that Carol referenced earlier. And so with Teague Engineering and Planning, as she mentioned, Mark Teague, he is the principal and founder of the company. He doesn't work anymore. He worked for DOT for a number of years and is really well-versed in assisting clients in navigating the whole process of making sure The types of content on the signs are going to meet DOT criteria, working to submit encroachment agreements so that signs can be installed the way that they need to be installed and meet all of the DOT guidelines. And what we'll be doing primarily is working with Carol and the TDA to come up with a destination list of where signs are going to be located, again, fitting all of the DOT criteria, designing the sort of, I don't want to say logo, but sort of brand look of the signs to fit what the TDA is looking for and kind of mirror what the city of Marion has been doing as well. And then we'll be working with TDA, DOT to contract a structural engineer to make sure that we're designing sign structures that are appropriate, that are going to meet all of the criteria that, for instance, they have to have breakaway sort of, or meet breakaway standards. So if a car or another vehicle hits those signs, they do what they're supposed to do to minimize sort of damage. And then also work with fabricators and installers to get those signs in the ground.
Okay, comments or questions?
One question, as we take ownership of this, what can you describe what the product type is that these signs are made of, and the life expectancy of the signs?
Yes, sir. Typically, most wayfinding signs are 5-inch or 6-inch steel or aluminum. We tend to favor aluminum. They each last about 10 years, so you do have to factor in the life cycle, and we recommend putting 10% away every year, and then so every 10 years you can replace the sign, the whole system. But again, depending on the size, we end up with how many panels are on it. Some signs are just flat, some have bolted panels that can be interchanged. Depending on how complex they are, how big they are, that'll affect what kind of post you put them on. We've seen them where the structural engineer will say, that's a big sign, you got to put it on an 8-inch steel pole, and then it ends up being a lot more expensive. So we try to figure out ways to keep the cost down as much as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments, questions?
What liability comes with ownership for the county? Wonder what our liability would be.
Carol, we'd worked that out in discussion back and forth. She asked what kind of liability would the county have?
Right. Liability-wise, I guess if someone were to have an accident, I mean, that's kind of hard to predetermine. Right. It depends on who's at fault for the accident involving the sign. That's the only thing that I can think of. I mean, in your experience, is there any other issue that would come up?
Well, if Mark were here, he would have a few words to say. He does forensics cases for different clients and helps them work through who is actually liable. If a road sign is placed too close to the curb, or any number of things. Even if it's a stop sign that wasn't quite tall enough, there's a lot of different ways things can go wrong. But in order for the signs to go in the ground, they have to meet DOT standards, which means we hand over an encroachment application, and they look at every single sign, and they make sure it's exactly where it needs to be.
The state has to approve it.
The state very much has to approve it. That was our main motivation for working with Teague Engineering, because it's such a complex process to work with the state in that right-of-way issue, and then safety is such an important factor. And because we want to start out with 3 exit points on the interstate. So we want to first start out with exit 85, exit 86, and exit 73. And then once you take off from that exit, as you come into our major intersections, particularly when you're going down the bypass and you intersect there at Highway 70, we have a lot of things to point to. So again, to be certain that location is safe, that they're the appropriate size, that those signs aren't going to impede anybody's sight of vision for incoming traffic or anything like that. Like I said, that was one of the main motivating factors for choosing this firm, because of their experience They've done this multiple times before, plus the experience that Mark brings with him as being an NCDOT engineer.
Well, the state's going to have stringent rules on
They do.
these, so, I
They do.
think it's a,
And when you look at all those rules, it'll give you a headache. So again, that's why we need these experts to work with us on that. But again, the language, as you said, can be worked out in whatever that agreement language is.
And I know our board attorney would review the document,
Yes, he
I'm
would.
sure yours would too,
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So, yeah.
Well, one thing that we have long advocated for is a directional sign to the Carson House. And I think through many dangers, toils, and snares, that's going to happen, right? Our senator called a couple
Been
months.
authorized.
And it's been authorized. So we are so excited, and we hope to be able to present a sign to the Carson House Board of Directors when we meet and hold our meeting in October at the Carson House.
Well, see, there are other properties like that are tourism properties, like our vineyards, our wineries. Tourists are trying to find those, but then they're out on country roads, and the wineries are unable to put a sign up. But we could help them. We couldn't say the particular name of the property, but we could say winery or vineyard, and then you've got that sign going this way. And then the vineyards and the properties themselves, once you get closer to them, then they follow up with their own signs. So it'll be able to help, because some of those small businesses just don't meet DOT standards, like Carson House, because they weren't open year-round. So they didn't meet the TODS sign program, the tourism signs that they have on the interstate. So this is a good, way to kind of bridge that gap.
Okay, so Carol, you're not requesting any action tonight, correct? Or are you? Ashley, what's your recommendation?
You might want to wait until you have something a little more concrete on the.
Okay, by
local
consent,
agreement,
let's go
yes.
ahead and by consent, is the board okay with moving forward and looking at an agreement that would form a partnership concerning the wayfaring directional signs? Y'all good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so by consent, the board, Madam Clerk, is going to go ahead and allow staff to move forward and work with Carol and her people to get something worked out.
I'll get with Ashley and we'll have something up.
Okay, great. Anna, and I asked my vice chairman your name 5 times. Is it Keith?
No. Kenny.
Kenny.
Easy.
All right, Kenny. All right, Kenny, good to have you with us tonight, too.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks. Okay, at this time, we've already taken care of the action regarding the tree, but Karen was at work, and so Karen is the current president, right? So Karen Conley, we want to give you a chance to speak, because I know you weren't breaking any laws trying to get here, and you were driving the speed limit. We understand that, but we're glad you're here, and we want to give you an opportunity to speak and say whatever you need to. Okay.
Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Karen Conley, and I am the current president of the Pilot Club of Marion. I'd like to thank Commissioner Chair Walker and the commissioners for listening to the will of the people. The tree was planted in 1975 by our charter pilots who are not with us anymore. And we are grateful that it will remain standing and that it will stand beside the new Charters of Freedom Monument installed. Chairman Walker, I invited you to come to our meeting.
Yeah, and I said I will be glad to be there. September 13th.
September the 13th at 6 p.m. at Hook and Anchor. But this is an extended invitation to everybody. If you want to come and see how we're a little group with a big heart, is what I like to say, and see how we pick what we are going to help in the county for the month. We have done several things in the county. Sheriff's Department. We have worked with the Sheriff's Department with the Project Lifesaver, which is, if, for those of you who don't know what Project Lifesaver is, it is a, I don't want to say a homing system, but if somebody has Alzheimer's or somebody is confused or needs to have a bracelet or something, a child with Asperger's, if the person cannot afford to purchase that, Pilot Club will do that. We will get money and funds, and we will get that for the family member that can't afford that. So if the child is lost all they have to do is call the sheriff's department, and the sheriff's department can get to that person, whomever it is. We also, with the Christmas tree lights, that money goes into that. Also, Viola Life, I don't know if you guys have seen that, we teamed up with our EMS. We have made sure that the community care paramedics have plenty of those on hand, so if they need to go into somebody's house and say, okay, here, put this here, so we know what's going on. They've helped them fill them out. We do different things. We just submitted for Surfers Healing, which is really hard. It's children with Asperger's. You have to get put into a lottery now. They have surfers from all over Hawaii and all over the country that will come and take these kids out on a surfboard for 5 minutes. So we do donate to that, but that is not in our community. We really do appreciate you guys taking the time and listening to the will of the people. We invite you to come to the tree lighting on Melodies on Main. We do invite you to come to our meeting, and we do thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Karen, and we're so glad to have you here and to hear your comments, and we look forward to moving forward with the Pilot Club. This board's made a commitment that we are going to work hand in hand with the Pilot Club in days to come. Anything related to the tree, there'll be good, thorough discussion and partnership, cooperation. So just to reiterate that one more time, we're with you on that.
Okay, great, and I'm sure I'll get everything that was said when I get to the meeting. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Good to have you, Karen. Okay, at this time, let's continue under new business, and item B, Mr. Wooten, this is a payment in lieu of taxes, federal lawsuit. Go ahead, sir, and lead us out.
Sure. We had received a letter from the National Association of Counties probably about 3 weeks ago, informing us, and I'm sure about 40 other counties in the state, about a class action lawsuit that had been filed, I believe, by a county in maybe Utah. So a quick background, again, I'm not an attorney, but the Congress had passed a law about 5 or 6 years ago that laid out statutorily how much payment in lieu of taxes should be paid to counties where there's federal property. It's a quick lesson there. Mr. Larson's still here. It's nothing to do with anything he's done or not, but there is money that he might have seen that on the agenda and wonder what that was about. Apologies for the lack of heads up, but federal property, counties receive money, a small amount, but it's appreciated, small amount per acre for any federal property and their boundaries. So mostly in our county it's national forest. There is a small amount of National Park Service land with the Blue Ridge Parkway. So again, back to the law. This law was passed. Someone, probably an attorney, read it and said, counties are not receiving as much money as they are supposed to based on this law. So again, this county out west sued the federal government. It has proceeded to a certain level where it was granted class action status, where any county that is owed payment in lieu of taxes monies is eligible to participate in the lawsuit. The law firm representing the class did contact us and said McDowell County would be the recipient of $6,000 if it was successful, which is not a lot of money, but thought I'd better bring it to your.
So what you're saying is you've not seen a check yet?
Not yet. Until you sign on, we're not eligible to participate. So.
And there's no cost to the county to be
No,
part
sir.
of the class action lawsuit, correct?
That's right.
Okay, other comments or questions? Ms. Dale, we'd love to hear you, and we'd hear you here in the citizen comment, but right now we're in a meeting, and so we can't, unless you're on the agenda or, so. But we'll hear you gladly here in a minute, okay? Citizen comment. Because I'm sure you got a good question. You always do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments by board members? I should have clarified that. That's my fault. I didn't say board members. By board members. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion that we allow county manager to proceed with the getting with the class action lawsuit, signing whatever documents you need to do for that in order to proceed with that, to collect the money.
Okay,
Second.
your motion second. Discussion. Ashley, for everybody in the room, state how much of what percentage of land in McDowell County is Forest Service land?
I'm asked the expert, but it's about 23-24% of the county is national forest. So again, that we get about $170,000 every year for about a quarter of our land, which it's enjoyed by the public and it's open for public access. But we had a small amount for all that acreage. So.
Right. Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay. Thank you. Let's move to item C under new business. This is the North Carolina Association Legislative Goals. Go ahead, Mr. Wooten.
Yes, sir. Again, you are represented in Raleigh. All the counties are by the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. This group does a lot for counties, but one thing they do on your behest is lobby the legislature. So there are membership programs that they offer, but they also are a lobbying organization for county interests. And the only things they lobby on are things that the counties vote on every 2 years. So they're not going to take up something on their own without support from the counties. Mr. Green attended a legislative goals conference about a year and a half ago and participated in voting for those goals. And so they're not due until the end of September, but we wanted to have it on the agenda in August. For some, you may have on your mind for tonight, but definitely for September's meeting, just to kind of get the gears turning. Did send this out. We received it to some of the department heads that might have more of a thought about these sorts of things, like your William Kellers and your Lisa Sprouses that deal with state regulations, state programs, et cetera. Haven't received a lot back, but I did insert some forwarded from DSS for you to just look at as a suggestion. Again, you can vote on any of those. Anything else that might be on your mind. Again, they're due September 21st, and wanted to get this in front of you to give you some time to think about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wooten. We look forward to that discussion in September. Let's move to item E under new business. This would be the board appointments. We have two items. The McDowell Mission Ministry Board of Directors we have a second reading. They're asking for a commissioner to serve on that board, and I will be glad to serve on that board. Does anybody else have a desire? If they do, I'll step down, but if nobody wants to, I'll be glad to do that one.
I'd be glad for you to serve on.
Okay, all right. And Madam Clerk, or Mr. Wooten, since it's commissioner, it's appointing commissioners, we don't need a ballot for that, do we? Just by simple consensus?
I think so. Everyone's okay.
We're not going to
Consensus.
keep you from volunteering.
Okay, all right, so by consensus, I'll get to serve on that one. Okay, good deal. And the other item,
Mr. Chairman, that's also a first reading for the planning board vacancies.
right. So we have a first reading, so no action will be taken until next month when there's a second reading, okay? Let's move to item F under new business. This is tax matters, and we have Mr. Wooten to lead us out on this. Go ahead, Mr. Wooten.
Yes, sir. With the bills going out about a month and a half ago, you're starting to see some elderly exemptions that were maybe not keyed in. You might see some mobile homes that were repossessed a couple of years ago, that sort of thing. So when the bills go out, we do catch quite a bit of errors, sometimes computer, sometimes human. And so we do have refunds, releases, et cetera, of a larger nature than we normally do. But I've looked through them all, and they're all standard.
Mr. Williams, I was talking to the Vice Chairman here, so do we need to take action on this?
Please, just
Okay.
the refunds releases, and I think our link.
All right, we're trying to find them. That's our discussion
I
right
think
here.
the link is broken. on the-
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Page 176 to 186.
176, okay. All right,
176.
Commissioners, you've had a chance to look at these prior to the meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve, releases, rebills, refunds.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay, thank you. Now let's go back and pick up item D under new business. This is the personnel policy amendment. Mr. Wooten, if you could lead the board out in this area.
Board had a recent discussion about employee benefits and employee recruitment, specifically in the area of vacation leave and vacation accrual. More so for folks that may be working for another local government that are applying for employment with McDowell County. The sense that we got from that discussion was that the board wanted to maybe enhance and provide some clarity to our policy to make it more of a recruitment tool for folks that already are maybe seasoned to get those in and to serve McDowell County. We do have a proposed change in that section for the personnel policy. So this would be a first reading, if you'd like to do a second reading. But on page 116, there's a discussion of the vacation leave. So it talks about what current employees earn per year of service. And what you see is underlined would change how that is defined. And I'll just read it for public. For the purposes of this section, years of service is defined as the employee's creditable time as recorded by the North Carolina Local Governmental Employees Retirement System or Teachers and State Employee Retirement System for employees of McDowell County Cooperative Extension. So again, it would look at if someone worked for Catawba County, Caldwell County, et cetera, we can access their employment record with the retirement system to understand what they would have worked and give them credit as it falls under our scale. And there is an exception for state employees if they work for McDowell County Extension, because that seems to be an interest of some folks wanting to move from that office to county employment. It doesn't make exceptions for someone that might work at the prison or DMV in Raleigh or something. It's only that particular area. Again, that's just a suggestion on that section. If there's not interest.
We need to be consistent with what we do across the board, I would say. So, but this is the first reading, and we'll discuss it in September, correct?
Yes, sir.
Gives,
Make any action.
Gives board members more time to review it. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Let's move to item A under old business. This will be the sales tax referendum. Mr. Wooten, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. So we, on June 29th, the board voted to direct the Board of Elections to place a quarter-cent sales tax question on the November ballot. That request was sent through through the local board to the state board. We have received confirmation it will be on the state, on the ballot in November for county voters. What you see in your memo is what the question will look like on the ballot. And so there are two places to check, either for or against. And it says local sales and use tax at the rate of 1/4% in addition to all other state and local sales and use taxes. This has come up a lot as far as conferences, trainings, et cetera. There is no ability to have any other information in the ballot to say what it would be used for or not used for or what have you. The statute, and we checked the School of Government on this, it's only that sentence and the for or against. So any information as far as what the funds will be used for has to come from other means. So you can provide information, websites, handouts describing what the funds will be used for, and you can use taxpayer funds to provide that information. The difference is you cannot spend taxpayer funds to advocate for folks to vote for it. So you cannot do an ad in the McDowell News, for example, say vote for sales tax. Others can do that on your behalf, but you cannot do that based on the statutory language.
So basically, the four, and I'll say this real quick to everybody present, the property owner is the one that gets to hit every time. And the board felt, and there's a reason why this is even going to be on the ballot, basically four items. And we hope you tell everybody you know, and use Facebook is a great way to get information out. But we want to encourage people to vote for it, and here's why. Old Fort is going to be building a new school down there, new school. And the local government commission has to approve any debt that any county in North Carolina assumes or takes on prior to that debt occurring. So we have to submit to Raleigh and show how we're going to pay for a new school, $20 million, whatever, $15 million, whatever it is. We have to show how we're going to repay the debt. So our board, at the request of school board members, there's a need for a new replaced building in Old Fort, and they have came to us and asked us if we would put this on the ballot. So it's going to be number one, schools. Number two, our EMS base located right here. If you walk out the door, you see the old ugly tin metal building right here that's looks like it's about ready to fall in. It needs to be replaced. We've got the best in the state when it comes to EMS director and William Keller, and we've got the most trained EMS personnel in the state. Here again, I'll give one example of that. Someone has a heart attack. McDowell County was one of the only ones in the southeast, right? And the exact term is, I don't know, it starts with an H, but anyway, Barry, you're the medical guy. It brings they sort of like lower the body, sort of like freeze the body. You know what the
Induced hypothermia is what it's
there
called.
you go. And our county was one of the only ones doing that in the south, basically.
Second county in the entire state of North Carolina, first being Wake EMS.
And Wake's your biggest county.
Yep.
So those guys, they're right down here in town, and they've got policies that govern. They've got to stop for red lights, even though they've got the sirens on, they're responding. And so you're right in the heart of downtown Marion, and you get a call. And listen, in a heart attack situation, it's all about time, muscle. Your muscle's dying in a heart attack. And and our director has stated to this board that they're having to stop. And listen, here again, we're going to advocate for our people. And part of that is getting them out of this downtown location to where they can get out of here and get to your house or your dad's house, your mom's house, your grandma's house quicker, so they can start the processes to save their life or give them a better quality of life. And so we've got land on Barnes Road, and the board is going to and is working with staff and Mr. Keller and Mr. Wooten on a design for a new state-of-the-art building out there. And as y'all know, how many of y'all had a problem finding a parking spot down here tonight? I circled 3 times till I got one, right? So with a new courthouse, new courtroom going on upstairs, and all that work, they're losing parking spaces off the deck. So the board is committed to building a new, if the sales tax passes. Now, if a sales tax does not pass, then we're back to the block one, and we're having to reevaluate and prioritize again. But the goal is to get him out so response times increase, and then level that metal building, and we need more parking spots. Downtown needs more parking. So that would be what would occur with that building over here. That's 2 things why we're encouraging people to vote for the increase in sales tax, which is the fairest thing. It's a user-based fee. You pay for what you use. The property owner, Mr. Dale, is going to pay, and they shouldn't be the one bearing the brunt. People who are renters, for whatever reason, are not paying property tax. Charlene is the president of the Board of Realtors, and she's here with us tonight. And so if they don't own the home, they're renting, they're not paying property tax. So here again, we see it as we don't want to go to the well and penalize a property owner they shouldn't have to bear the brunt. People passing through our county, if it's on the sales tax, they're going to be buying gas, buying chips and a drink at the convenience store, the Pilot, the Loves, and therefore out-of-town people can help fund some of this stuff and not make it all on our local people again. So that's 3 items. The 4th item is, I don't know if y'all have ran into this problem. I know in real estate, Charlene, you've experienced it probably with homeowners' response time through our health district. McDowell County's a 3-county partnership with Rutherford, Polk, McDowell. And if your septic tank goes out, guess what? You just can't go in there and start digging. You got to go get a permit. And our contractors tell us all the time, 12 weeks out for permits right now. Is that right, Tony? Tony builds houses. And there's a terrible backlog. And so the county's looking at operating our own health department. So that's another reason. And the 4th reason is fire training grounds are antique out here and antiquated. And we're looking at moving those guys to Barnes Road. We own the property on Barnes Road already. The county does. You do. And we want to make good use of that property. That land's been sitting out there empty for a long time. And we want to go ahead and put positive things out there that can help people in McDowell County see a return. And so that's what we're going to encourage people to do. And it's a user fee, and it's minimal. So tell your friends and your family, schools, new school. And if you don't have, and stress to people this, please stress to people this, that we're not just putting this on the ballot and not giving you a single reason why you need to vote for it. Every time a county does that, it fails terribly. Rutherford County had it on the ballot just this last, in May, passed 70% in Rutherford County. You know why it passed at 70% rate? Because it went to the schools and they stated it. Now you can't, on the ballot, when you go to vote this fall, it won't read the 4 items I just told you about, because you've heard our county manager say state law says you got to put this standard sentence in there with the amount you're requesting. So we want to encourage you to get the word out. We're going to, individually try to get the word out that, and McDowell County, here again, we shouldn't lag behind anybody in anything. I mean, we're going to be straight to the point with it. Why should McDowell County not have the same stuff? Why should we not have a state-of-the-art building for the best guys in the state who's delivering medical services? Or why should we have kids in the old school down here that needs upfitted? So we're just trying to move things forward responsibly, and you got to pay for it. They don't do things free. They're not. Now the school board is actively trying to obtain funding through the state that would reduce the amount of money they would need to borrow for this project, which is great, and we hope they're very successful, and we hope it comes through for them. But if not, you got to show how you're going to pay for it. So, we need your help to try to keep the ball going forward and keep progress occurring around here. And rest assured that it's going for 4 projects, 4 items mentioned, and it won't be used for pay raises or this or that, a county car for the county manager. It'll be going straight for the items listed to pay the debt. It generated about $800,000 is what the anticipated revenue is if things held steady. So we appreciate your help on that. Get the word out. People, your families, tell them to get there and help us out on that. So there's no action requested tonight. Is that right, Mr. Wooten?
That's right.
Okay. All right. So there's where we're coming from. So y'all will know. Here again, transparency is the best way to handle it, right? Let's move to item B. This is the shooting range update. Mr. Wooten, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Just a brief update. I don't think we've had on the agenda for a couple of months. We've not heard much from the state. They have been working quietly behind the scenes. They have been out on the property off of Ashworth several times. sometimes with NCDOT to look at the access road, and other times to do some geotechnical work. And so what you have in your packet is fairly brief, but it is an email from Mr. Gardner with NC Wildlife providing a fairly brief update. They are doing a flood study of, I believe it's North Muddy Creek that crosses a portion of the property. Again, we've talked that there is an ask from the state to receive some portion of the property as a donation. Again, that's not news to you. The size of that requested donation is not known at this point. They're working on that. And he does put in his email that the Lands Committee, who is over ranges and different things of Wildlife Commission, they've put forward the longest distance on the rifle range is 100 yards. He acknowledges there were longer distances requested, but that's as far as they could justify with their budget. And so you see the total amount estimated for that project, again, it would be state and federal funds, is about $2.1 million from those designated funds for that purpose. So any questions? I will mention Commissioner Brown suggested in a recent conversation meeting with the folks and just maybe on site and just getting another idea of where things stand. So more than happy to do that.
Okay, other comments, questions? Commissioner Brown, anything you want to add? You've been very vocal and instrumental here on this.
No, I'm going to hold quiet tonight on the topic until I get a chance to meet with the state representatives on that. I really want to see this thing move forward. There's money, quite a bit of money that they're talking about allocating for this, and I just feel like we can get more bang for our buck, and we just have to talk with the sources involved to see what we can do on that. But we're going to try to get everything we can get out of them while we have the opportunity.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, there being none, no actions needed on that. Commissioner Brown did state that it would be good to go out there on site, so let's make that happen then. Let's move to the next item. This is item number C under old business. This will be the Health Department evaluation. Mr. Wooten, go ahead, sir, and lead us out.
Yes, sir. A lot happened from the June 29th meeting at the end of the last fiscal year. One of the items was a pretty important and lengthy discussion about the health department with the almost 100% focus on the environmental health area. We've had the health director here previously. There are some health board members here, I'm sure keenly interested in the discussion. But there's been concern expressed from members of the public, contractors, et cetera, to this board, and I'm sure the health board about, and the director, as far as wait times for permits. There have been meetings with the health director and valiant efforts, it appears, on her part, her staff's part, her board's part to tackle some of those issues as far as staffing that aren't unique to the district. That when we've done research, the different county managers in the district, a lot of the counties in our region and statewide are having trouble attracting environmental health specialists. It's a difficult field to get into, more so because of the educational requirements that are put forth for anyone to apply, and maybe some onerous requirements for folks that maybe have recently retired and that sort of thing. At the 29th meeting, you had a discussion about the question of whether or not to participate moving forward in the district. We did mention that if you wanted to make any decisions other than remaining in the district, you have to notify the state before June 30th of by the end of the fiscal year before it becomes effective. So you couldn't have done it on the 29th because 2 days later, we wouldn't have been prepared to operate our own health department, even if that was a desire. And so essentially, we wanted to present some information that was presented last year as far as costs and have a brief discussion if you're interested. But pretty much to make clear that any decisions that have to be made probably need to be made very soon because there is an impact to that organization, the district, and there are 2 other counties that are keenly interested as far as what's going to happen, if anything, so they can be preparing in case something happened to the district. So essentially looking to see if there's any appetite for changing the status quo. So most of the discussion I heard was centered around district versus operating a single county department. And so we did, again, copy some of the information provided last year. And the shortfall at that time was about $300,000. And that was prepared with the assistance of the health director. Did talk to Allison, the finance director here. That's probably a little bit at the tip of the iceberg. There are some things we're not thinking about as far as building maintenance. Talked to Mr. DePoyster. We've been splitting some of those costs with the district, and maybe that we're paying, one hand and reaping the benefit from the other. It's hard to know, but that is a consideration. We would fully be responsible for building maintenance at that point. And so again, there's a lot to take on. If you want to do it, we're prepared to do it. We would just need time to prepare this organization and to give the district and the other 2 counties time to prepare their budget, et cetera.
Well, I'd like to say, make a comment on this while we're into it. What we're doing now with our environmental health is not working at all. And I get calls, almost every day, people complaining about waiting 12, 14, 16 weeks or whatever on an inspection or a permit approval. And that's not working. I'm all for whatever it takes to get a standalone department. And I think that's what we need. I don't think we're ever going to resolve the issue until we do. And I understand that there's a problem in hiring the qualified personnel to do this. And, your sole finest or whatever's involved in doing this. But I just feel like that there is a very big need for us to do something different than what we're doing now, and I think the standalone department. Our county is trying to grow, and David talked earlier about some of the costs that are hooked to growth in the county, and in the things that we need, and our county is trying really hard to grow, and let's don't hold it back. Let's all work together and help this county to grow and to be what we want it to be.
Lynn serves on the board as far as the commissioner representative. So Lynn, go ahead.
I had a response to an email either Thursday or Friday of last week. There were some discussions with Karen Powell, the director, on that they were going to hire an office person and try to move another person into a position where they could be prioritizing workload for folks to go out and inspect and whatnot. So her response was that person had been hired and that they were supposed to start today. They had offered it to 2 others. The 2 others had changed their minds, so the person that they had hired or offered last was supposed to start today. I've not heard any more, but I can only assume that did happen. I guess my feeling is, my first meeting down there when I went to start serving on that board, there's a lot more to that job and to running a standalone health department than just septic permits. You've got your community health programs, you've got vaccinations for school-age kids, you've got all the other things that are tied into the health department. So I'm not trying to downplay the problem we're having because it is a real issue. I am still of the opinion that we need to look at moving into the future of operating our own. That way we've got control over what happens in McDowell County. However, I think in all fairness, we need to proceed with caution. We need to make sure we've got our ducks in a row before we do that all of the bases are covered. And in the meantime, we need to find out if their remedy by hiring a person to watch the front desk or whatever and having somebody to prioritize the workload, if that's going to work. If we don't see an improvement, I say move forward and do what we have to do.
One additional comment I'd like to make to that is the previous manager of that department was Jimmy Hines, and he retired, 3 years ago now? And
year and a half, maybe
well,
two.
at least a couple of years ago. But we were under the assumption things were going to improve, and we added more money to that department. I remember specifically, they were complaining about the money, and we gave them more money with the commitment to us that it would improve, but it's only gotten worse. So, what is the answer?
I'll say this, we own the building, so you don't need a new building. That's one hurdle cleared. You don't have to go out and find a new building to house the whole operation in. I don't want to see homeowners, and Lynn, you're right, it's not just one item or one area. It would be like permitting of septic tanks, and that's right. That's a very good statement. But I don't want to see homeowners held up for even swimming pool. I've had swimming pool people call me and say, X amount of time. I don't want to see business. I've had contractors call me and state that they're waiting and waiting, and if the contractor's waiting to get permitting, that means whoever's applying, whoever the contractor's working for is here again being held up too. So for my little say in this thing, I'm ready to move on and do our own health department, because, and you're right, you've got to really assess it, and staff's given a projected shortfall amount, which we know it will be more. You can give an amount, but it's going to be more than that amount of $300,000 shortfall from what we're giving in the district now. But if you're not getting the service you need within the district, it's time to reevaluate what we're doing.
I served on that board about 6 years. We hired Jimmy Hines, which I think he was a good replacement. Of course, I had a good working relationship with Buck Wilson, Jimmy, and of course Karen. I told her, I said, you're taking over a mess. I really think a lot of Karen personally, and her and her husband. He works at OEMS, but I told her, I said, you're taking on a mess. I mean, it's just plain and simple. I think the caution is, it's not just environmental health, as they said. It's septic inspections, well inspections, shots to the kids, everything you said plus more. Number one is we got to be able to hire a health director and pay them a pretty hefty salary. Okay, you're not going to get anybody for $40,000 or $50,000 to be a health director. Okay, it won't happen. I'm going to say it won't happen. It could, but your employees are going to be making more than your director. You're going to have a soil scientist, and you're going to have to hire at least 2 to 3 or maybe 4, depending, inspectors. Now, we looked at, we wrote letters to the state, Steve Teague, Steve Grindstaff, some of those guys. Retirement can only work so much anyway. They're going to lose more money by drawing retirement. When I've retired, if I go back to work, I'm going to lose a ton of money by doing that. But, and whether they applied or didn't apply, I've heard different stories that they applied, never got hired, but the state wouldn't allow them to even go back to work until they'd gone through X number of inspections, even though they'd worked for 35 years for them. Wasn't nothing we could control. And they're not coming out of school. You're not producing this type of clientele. Nobody's going to school to work for the health department. No one's going to school to be a building inspector. You know, if we lost our building inspectors, who are we going to hire tomorrow to keep the permits going? And that's the tragedy of it. I want to make sure that we're able to find those employees. I mean, we turn around and say, we're going to do it. And we don't have a health director, we don't have a soil scientist, we have no inspectors. We just put you in a bind. Worst
Well, our
situation where we're at.
Our building inspection department is working great, and I just can't see why our environmental health department.
The good thing is you got till, you wouldn't be operational till July of next year.
That's true, but to get to that point, there's.
Right. And of
Yeah,
course,
I know
you can probably hire a building inspector easier than you can hire a health inspector. I promise you with the requirements.
I know that.
Because most contractors could be a building inspector.
Frustration.
No. Not necessarily.
I know they've been asked before.
Yeah,
if they'd
I
be
do too,
interested.
and I have been offered before, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that they're.
The training
that
is
doesn't
much more
qualify.
intense for health than it is. building inspector.
I think Ron Harmon could elaborate on that. Doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily qualify.
Right. But I think, I'd like to see us move. We did have our standalone at one time, then we went to the district because the savings of money to you as a taxpayer was tremendous. You can see an additional, we're at total clinical service would cost approximately $1.682 million plus $300,000. So that's almost $2 million, right? So we're going to have a budget impact. The administration of environmental health would be approximately $911,000. So, I mean, the shortfall is $300,000 minimum of $300,000. I mean, I agree. We've got to do something, but I don't know even with a standalone if we can hire employees, plain and simple, and pay them a salary, we're going to be in worse shape than what we are now.
Well, I don't think that Rutherford and Pope are suffering like we are.
But we're sharing those inspectors, right?
Exactly. Yeah, my point
Yep.
has been made.
We're sharing them.
My point.
And they're coming out of Asheville contract and working on the weekends,
Yeah.
supposedly.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. They quit.
Part-time people.
Charlie,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
thanks for the input.
Yeah,
We got,
sorry.
we'll get you here in a minute.
And that's the sad part,
But they did hire someone new today, correct?
to work in the office.
Yeah.
Not
But
to do
that's
inspections.
push. Well,
She's helping you. Don't fuck call her that. I'm trying to help.
And we appreciate that, y'all. We do. We look forward to hearing y'all here from y'all in a minute.
And I'm not saying not to
Jen, Barry?
move. I'm not saying not to move, but I'm saying move with caution.
Okay, thank you, Barry.
I'm good.
Okay. Now, staff has requested direction, and usually direction is requesting a vote of some type.
No action.
So, do I hear a motion from any board member?
I make a motion, we move forward with the standalone department.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second, I'll second the motion. All right, now discussion.
I think that you better be very cautious about taking the step now to move forward with doing our own standalone, because you may be shooting yourself in the foot. The very minute that it goes in the paper in the morning that we have voted to do that, your cooperation with that district has went out the window.
I think there's probably some type, Mr. Wooten, help us out here. Is there state law would govern, or is the agreement we're in would govern, which I'm reading.
I'll just lay your inspection tickets at the bottom of the pile. That's all I gotta do.
Is this not basically a motion to move forward with him getting all the information totally that we need?
That wasn't,
Or is
That
this,
wasn't what I heard.
I want to clarify the motion.
that's scary about it. I think we need to.
so you have presented everything you can present to us on this?
I can present more in 3 weeks at September meeting.
What additional information would you be able to present in 3 weeks? Because you've done the cost analysis.
We see the cost.
So what-
And I
help
don't
us to
think it's out of
understand.
range.
The most I could probably do as far as, and again, this is information we've received from the health department before, the district, is mandated services, optional services, which is almost nothing. What's mostly being provided now are mandated Very, very few exceptions. And most of that has to do with the funding levels from the three counties.
All right.
Well, we do have a building, but do we know that that building is going to be satisfactory to house everything? Or that, I mean, that building's been there a while too.
Mr. Wooten?
Is there
any
space?
information for Commissioner
That
Ryan?
building opened, I guess, in the mid-'90s. When it was built, it had the home health agency in the building. So you had home health nurses, and the program that was based in the building. That program went away about 6 or 7 years ago, which, it was sold off to a private entity at that point. And those offices, if you've ever been there, you could fit about 10 in this space. They're big enough for a desk and a chair and maybe a visitor. They were just big enough for a nurse to go in, maybe check in the computer, and then go out and see clients. That was the point. And so that space is there. Most of that's been rented by Via Health and a few other smaller entities. There is the clinical section that does see clients, and then the environmental health section. Again, our building inspectors are in an area to the front of the building as well. The primary difference that you would see would be a health director's office, administrative assistant, someone to do vital records, and maybe some support staff in addition to that. So there could be.
We're renting out enough space to handle what we would need.
Again, I don't know the lease arrangement with Via, but there's probably enough space to make adjustments there.
I guess what I'm trying to say is this. I am not against us having our own. What I'm saying is before I could say yes and vote yes to moving forward, I would have to see a plan. I would have to see what it's going to cost me, when we're going to advertise for a director, this date, have them filled by such and such a date. We're going to have our ducks in a row and not just say, yeah, let's go do it.
It has to meet state requirements.
I'm not against it, I'm just for moving slow.
Well,
It has
And
to
I know
meet
we
the
got a
state-
time frame.
Yeah, it has to come with the
it's a
state
year
requirements.
before we can do it anyway, almost. If we do it,
Then
it's still
we need to
next year.
we need to come back with a plan.
We got a motion on the floor. We got to address first. And we're in discussion right now. So, any other discussion on the motion? You got to take action on the motion first. All right? No other discussion?
Restate the motion, please.
I made the motion that we move forward with it.
That means we're in a standalone health department.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're notified tomorrow morning that we're pulling out, effective
You know,
June of next year.
I don't see how it's going to hurt us to tell them, they're not helping us now, And I'm not saying that to cast a stone at Karen Powell or no one, within that department. But we're going nowhere now. We're just butting our head against the barn doors, my granddaddy used to say, and going nowhere. So, that's my motion.
Okay. All right, any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
3-2, okay, no problem. One good thing about America is you can vote, and it may pass, it may not pass. That's America, so thanks for everybody's vote on that. However you vote, there's never hard feelings on the Board of Commissioners, right?
If you'll rework that motion, if you'll rework it.
All right, let's move on to the next item. Let's go to item number D, the Catawba Greenway update. Mr. Wooten, we know there's been a little bit of water damage as of late, so bring us up to date.
Right. So if anyone saw this and thought this might apply to the section behind Lowe's, I have disappointing news. This isn't about that. That is maintained by the city, which I understand they're working hand in hand with the Trails Association on getting that reopened as soon as possible. This section involves what's called Phase 3, which is closer to Tom Johnson's, mostly located in the old County River Park, off Old Greenlee Road, in that vicinity. And so we have been working, again, behind the scenes, but I wanted to get it out from behind the scenes to show people we are trying. McGill Associates, our engineer, had advertised this project for bid about a month and a half ago. And we had one bidder, actually 0 bids the first time. And when we rebid it, we had one bidder. The one bidder has done work for us before and has done quality work. And that was not the problem. The problem was their price was much greater than available funds. And we talked to that contractor. Most of his issue related to his high bid had to do with some of the design of some of the structures. There's a bridge, a creek crossing bridge in this, and he said no one in our field would bid on this project because of that bridge, and I just did it kind of as a favor. So we had that discussion, talked to the engineer, they're going to redesign that bridge. The other primary reason had to do quite a bit with just there's a lot of work in that area right now. And so the deadline we were looking at is December 31st for our Part F grant. And he said there's just no way, even with 6 months to do that, I've just got too much going on. All the contractors do in that field. And so we met with the engineer. You have a draft letter in your packet that has been sent to the Part F authority requesting an extension to our grant to provide additional time. They will only do 6 months at a time. And so we want to get that in now to extend it to June 30th of 2019 to hopefully buy some time and be able to re-advertise very soon and get that project going. So we're still trying, and we want to do a great trail project. And if bids come back above available funds, we might have to just scale back some of it. So
Okay.
we're looking at different options to get a lot done, but lower cost.
Okay. Let's move to the next item. This will be the item E under old business, the opioid lawsuit update. Mr. Wood, go ahead and lead us out.
Right, just to keep it in mind, board voted several months ago to join this lawsuit, and while there are other cities and counties and states involved, this isn't actually a class action like the prior one is. But we are at the stage where we're providing information to the court through the contracted attorney, Mr. Siegel. Thought about attaching it, but it's probably not a public record at this point. And again, it's mostly data that is publicly available, but still didn't want to get that out if it wasn't public. That process is proceeding. Right now, it's just a discovery phase to understand some of the potential financial impacts that counties, cities, and states have seen due to some of the opioid impacts. So again, just to keep it in mind that it's still ongoing and we are doing things with it.
Okay, all right, great. Comments or questions by board members? Okay. Now, at this time, reports, communications, anything, Mr. Wooten or commissioners one to another, we need to. No, we're good, yeah. That's right, thank you, Mr. McPeters. Okay, 2 items that were added to the agenda, and it's been a while since we started, so let's go ahead and recap that. And y'all been a great crowd. Y'all have not went to sleep yet. Mr. Dale's about ready to, but you still awake. 2 items we added, and they deal with, just discuss the opioid lawsuit that we're involved in. And the Friendship Home and the Sheriff's Department have contacted county staff and to highlight awareness so people will be aware and just spotlight and remember and think of ways to help others out. August 31st, they've asked us to do a proclamation that day would be Overdose Awareness Day. And they'll have an event on the 31st that the board is invited to, and we'll read those at that point if the board votes to approve that. Second proclamation, September is going to be National Recovery Month for the nation. So they want us to go ahead and approve that proclamation also. So what's the pleasure of the board concerning the two proclamations we have? And they'll be entered into the minutes for the public to review and read on 31st.
Move we approve both proclamations.
Got a motion, have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay, thank you. Now, at this time, let's go to reports, communications. Anything, Mr. Wooten, you have, dates, events, times, or board members?
No, sir.
Y'all do a good job with email, keeping everybody updated and where we need to be. Madam Clerk, excellent job. Excellent. Okay, nothing?
September, October.
October. Okay, now we have one more item on our appointment schedule, and the meeting will conclude. And I'm sure I have two people in here who want to speak because they've tried 3 or 4 times tonight to speak. So if you're here and you want to speak during citizen comment, there's a clipboard, thank you, and a pen. Just write your name down and the topic you wish to speak about. So at this time, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Motion.
Second.
Second. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Thank y'all for being here tonight.